everyone, this is part 2 of our discussions on factoring, and here I will be discussing now the process of solving quadratic equations by factoring, because last time we did only our quick review on factoring. Okay, are you ready? Let's go. Now let's start with activity 1. Title is what is the product 0. So we have here some equations, and based on these equations, let's answer the following questions. First question, how would you compare the 3 equations? So as you can see, the first 2 equations are linear equations. Why can I say that it's linear? Because we have here 1 as degree and 1 here also as a degree, so they are linear equations. However, in equation number 3, since there is still a multiplication over here, so if you do some multiplication, like if you're going to use the FOIL or the distributive property, you will come up with quadratic equations. Alright, so first 2 equations are linear and the third equation is quadratic. Now, what values of x would make each equation true? So this is easy. So what you need is just to, solve for x by transposing this one here to the other side of the equation. And if you're going to transpose 7 on the other side, it will become negative because you're going to use the magic rule. Alright, so x is equal to negative 7. How about this x plus 4? So if you're going to transpose it to the other side, same. You have to use the magic rule. Therefore, the correct answer here is negative 4. Now here, since you have 2, so equate each to 0. So you're going to have x plus 7 equals 0, and then do what we did with earlier with the first equation. You just transpose 7 to the other side, so the first value here is negative 7. And of course, since these are 2 factored forms, so you do the same thing with the x plus 4. You just have x plus, I hope my pen is visible enough for you, so x plus 4 equals 0. And then when you do the transposition, when you use the magic rule, you'll come up with x equals negative 4. Okay, so there are 2 values because there are 2 factored form also. Alright, so let's continue with, how would you know if the value of x that you got satisfies to each equation? So that's very easy. What you're going to do is just to substitute this solved value here with x here. So, or substitute x with the solved value. So if you're going to put here negative 7 instead of x, so you're going to have negative 7 plus 7 is 0. So that's correct. And if you're going to have here negative 4, so negative 4 plus 4 is 0. That's also correct. And that will be the same thing here. So this will be negative 7 and this will be negative 4. Okay, so you have negative 7 plus 7 is 0, negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Multiplying them, you will still end up with 0. That's how to see whether the equation, the solved value, satisfies the equation. Alright, so are the solutions of x plus 7 equals 0 and x plus 4 the same as the solutions of the third equation? So look at the solution. It's very clear. We have negative 7 and negative 4 here on the first 2 equations, and you also have negative 7 and negative 4 on the third equation. So the solutions are the same. Okay, alright, so where would that activity number 1 leads us? Okay, so the activity will lead us to the so-called the zero product property. So What is the statement of this zero product property? It says that if the product of two real numbers is 0, then either of the two is equal to 0 or both numbers is equal to 0. So as you could see from, if you remembered our first equation, that's x plus 7 equals 0, and then x plus 4 equals 0. When you multiply them, it will give you the same answer. Okay, so this zero product property is very useful in solving quadratic equations by factoring. But of course, you have to make sure that factoring has been practiced carefully, and that you are already equipped with factoring polynomials, especially quadratics. Alright? So how do we apply the zero product property in solving quadratic equations by factoring? Okay, here are some examples. So if, for example, we have x squared plus 9x equals negative 8. Okay, this is what you're going to remember. Before factoring, you have to see to it that the given is in standard form. Can you still remember the standard form of quadratic equation? Diba? The standard form is that, wait, let me use my pen. The standard form is the ax squared plus bx. My plus looks like x, so just understand that magaling ako dito. Okay, so plus c is equal to 0. Okay, if this is our standard form, then dapat this one here should looks like this. So what is this? Dapat una yung x squared, so it's correct. Sunod is the linear term, which is bx. So nakasunod na yung 9x, so it's correct. And then followed by c. However, ang problem dito is that negative 8 is on the other side. This is the value of c. This is the constant of the equation. Now, dahil nandun siya sa labas ng equal sign, kailangan niyang bumalik dito kung saan siya nararapat. So, there you go. Kailangan niyang gumamit ng magic rule. What is that magic rule? Tumatawid siya ng equal sign, so dapat naging positive yung kanyang sign instead of negative. So, the standard form of this will be x squared plus 9x plus 8 equals 0. Yung negative sign here, naging positive na. Kasi nga, tumawid siya ng equal sign. Okay? So much for that. Erase muna natin para walang masyadong magulo sa ating discussion. Okay. So, yun lang yung kailangan tandaan nyo. Kailangan, before doing the factoring, standard form muna siya. Ang hirap i-factor kapag hindi siya naka-standard form. Okay? So, once it is already in standard form, so what you're going to do is do the factoring. Ano ba yung factors ng x squared plus 9x plus 8? Okay? You can pause this video and then find the factors first. Is this your final answer? Then you're probably good at factoring. Okay? Kung ito yung naging factors nyo, pag may factors na kayo, madali na lang lahat. Kasi kagaya nung activity 1 natin, let's just separate x plus 8 and x plus 1. Paano isi-separate? We will equate each factor to 0. Okay? Tapos, napakadali na ng lahat. To solve for x, we just simply transpose 8 to the other side. Transpose lang natin siya dun, thereby changing its sign. Ganun yung gagawin dito sa 1. Transpose natin siya dyan. So, ma-change ng yung sign niya. So, therefore, we have a value of negative 8 and negative 1 for x. Okay? So, tapos na actually. Pero, if you have more time, so you can do some checkings. Paano ba ang checking? Madali lang. Go back to the original equation and then use the solved values for x as the value of x na isa-substitute mo sa original equation. So, paano ba mag-checking? Ganito. So, mag-start tayo with x as negative 8. So, sabi ko kanina, balik tayo sa original equation. The original equation was x squared plus 9x equals negative 8. Now, since meron tayong value dito na negative 8, what we're going to do is, palitan lang natin, substitute, okay? So, lahat ng x magiging negative 8. So, ayan na siya. Negative 8 squared plus 9, yung x naging negative 8 na naman, equals negative 8. And then, use or evaluate. Okay, diba? Negative 8 squared is 64. 9 times negative 8 is, ilan ba? Negative 72. So, 64 minus 72 is negative 8. So, therefore, our equation is true when the value of x is negative 8. So, it's checked. Okay? Here naman, okay, turn off lang muna natin yung camera para hindi siya matakpan. Okay? So, here naman, if we have x is negative 1, so, balik ulit sa original equation, then ganun din yung gagawin. Same process on the other side. Substitute x with negative 1. So, we have here negative 1 squared and so on. So, evaluate. That's negative 1 squared is positive 1. 9 times negative 1 is negative 9. Tapos, what is 1 minus 9? Of course, that is negative 8. So, there again, our solution is correct. Therefore, there are two values. Now, here is another example. 9x squared minus 4 equals 0. Paano ba siya i-factor? Okay? Take note that here in this problem, there's no value of b. Diba? B is equal to 0. So, dapat sana, if we're going to use method here, mas madali if we're going to use extracting square root. But for the sake of showing you class that this problem can also be solved by factoring, so gawin na natin to. Okay, naka-standard form na siya. Paano ba siya i-factor? So kung naalala nyo, what we're going to start with two sets of parentheses. So yan. Okay, ang galing-galing ng parentheses na ginawa ko. Okay, now after that, evaluate 9x squared in terms of square root. Diba perfect square ang mga to? The square root of this is 3x. So, dalawang 3x, separate lang natin. 3x here. Okay, and then 3x on the other side. Okay, sandali. Okay, pagkatapos, yung 4 is also a perfect square. Kunin din natin yung square root niya. So, meron siyang 2. So, 2 dito. Then, another 2. And then, i-follow mo na yung rule natin in terms of the last term sign or the constant sign. Ano ba yon? Diba pag positive, same signs. Negative siya. So, dahil negative siya, dapat ang factors natin should have unlike signs. So, it may be positive here and negative on the other side. So, different signs. Kasi nga, negative yung last term. Check nga natin yung factors. Yes, of course. So, yan na yung factors. We can now proceed to solving the values of x. Paano ba? Same din yung process. Equate each factor to 0. Pagkatapos, dahil mag-start tayo dito. So, 2 shall be transposed there. So, magiging negative siya. So, 3x equals to negative 2. Dahil meron pa tayong 3 dito, so we need to divide both sides of the equation by 3 para 1 na lang yung maiwan. Okay? So, there you go. Our first value is negative 2/3. Now, do the same thing here. You can transpose negative 2 on the other side also. So, you will have 3x equals 2. Then, same din yung process sa kabila. Divide both by 3. So, when you divide both by 3, ganun din yung makukuha mo. But this time, positive naman. So, it's positive 2/3. Medyo natakpan lang yung camera. But then, of course, you know what to do with this one. Okay? Check na lang natin siya. Okay? So, in checking, since this is our original equation and we have our first value to be negative 2/3, what we're going to do is just to substitute x to the original equation. So, yung x dyan sa katabi ng 9, magiging 2/3, negative 2/3. Okay? So, yung negative 2/3, naka-square man siya, so kailangan dun ka mag-start. So, what is negative 2/3 squared? So, that's negative 2 times negative 2, positive 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So, magiging 4/9. Ngayon, dahil ang 4/9 ito, dahil ang 4/9 nasa taas and nasa baba, tanggalin na natin yung 9. So, magiging 4 minus 4 na lang siya. In which, 4 minus 4 is equal to 0. So, dito, ang ating equation is true when the value of x is negative 2/3. Okay? So, bakit ba kailangan tayong mag-checking? Hindi ko na-emphasize kanina. Bakit pa kailangan nating mag-quick checking? Okay, ganito yung class. Kailangan nating mag-checking kasi there are cases when there will be extraneous root. Ano yung extraneous root? Ano yung spelling? Tingnan ko nga kung magaling ako sa sulat kamay ng spelling ng extraneous root. Wait. Balik. Okay. So, pumasok na siya dyan. Hayaan nyo na. Okay. Checking lang muna tayo. Mamaya, explain ko sa inyo yung extraneous root. Okay, so if x is 2/3, same mo yung process. Tanggalin muna natin si camera. Okay, so 9x squared minus 4 equals 0. Substitute with 2/3. So you have 2/3, 4/9. And then ganun din. Tanggalin natin yung 9 dyan. Oops, naging black yung pen ko. So, we have 4 minus 4 equals 0. So, therefore, check siya. So, meaning, yung 2/3 and negative 2/3 are values of this function. Correct siya. So, bakit kailangan ng checking? Balikan ko yung sinasabi ko kanina. We have the so-called, medyo matatagalan tayo dito kasi magaling akong magsulat using my pen. Kasi naman, okay. So, antayin lang natin si Teacher Alma kasi ang galing-galing niya. Pasensya na po. Okay, ito yung spelling ng extraneous roots. Okay. Okay. Okay, baka kasi meron tayong extraneous root. Ano yung extraneous root? Minsan, nag-solve tayo, okay na. Nag-solve tayo, wala tayong mali. Kahit anumang gawin natin na checking, wala tayong mali. Check na talaga lahat. Kaso, when we do the checking, hindi siya correct. False siya dun sa ating original equation. Bali, hindi siya nagiging, it will not, that certain value does not satisfy the original equation kasi hindi siya equal. So, ang ibig sabihin, extraneous siya. Although, siya yung na-solve na value, pero it will not make the equation true. So, that's extraneous. I hope, anyway, we will learn about this as we go along. As we go along, we will have more examples na merong extraneous root and you'll find out bakit kailangan mag-checking. Pero, this is what you're going to remember, class. Checking has no bearing as to the scores. Halimbawa, nag-quiz tayo, tapos wala kang checking, okay lang yan. So, if you're sure with your answers, pwede kang hindi mag-checking. Especially pag fraction yung sagot. Yung mga students ka, hindi na mag-checking yan. Okay, bakit? Wala namang bearing kay ma'am. Pero ako, if I am the student, I would like to have it check para ma-check ko kung tama ba yung sagot ko. So that pag halimbawa hindi siya naging true sa equation, then I can go back and tingnan ko kung saan ako nagkamali. Kung wala akong na mali sa process na ginawa ko, then it's probably one of the so-called extraneous root. Okay? As I've said, we'll learn about extraneous root as we go along. Okay, here is another example. x squared plus 7x equals 0. Madali lang i-factor, right? Because ang given na to is binomial na kailangan mo lang ng GCF. Sige nga, pause nyo yung video and then tell me what the factor is after. No. Check whether your factors are correct with my factors. Ito ba yung nakuha nyo? Okay, kung ito, then magaling na kayo sa factoring. Okay? So, as I've said, pag may factor na, what you're going to do is to equate each factor to 0. So, dito, meron na agad tayong sagot kasi x, wala ka nang itatranspose o kung ano pa man. Automatically, meron ka ng value ng x which is 0. Okay? Dito naman, x plus 7, pag nag-transpose ka, then gamitin mo yung magic rule natin. So, mag-change yung sign niya. Magiging x equals negative 7. Checking pa ba tayo? Pwede. Okay? So, if x is 0, go back to our original equation. Substitute x with 0. So, 0 squared plus 7 times 0, 0 lang din yan. Okay? So, we now have 0 as one of our root because it makes or it satisfies our equation. Now, what if x is negative 7? Okay? Tanggalin muna natin siya. Alright? Go back to the original equation. So, you have here x squared plus 7 equals 0. Substitute negative 7, x with negative 7, I mean. So, negative 7 squared is 49. 7 times negative 7 is 49. Negative 49. So, 49 minus 49 is 0. Again, 7. Negative 7 is one of the roots or one of the values of x for this equation. Okay? Let's proceed. What if ito? Naka-standard form na ba? Yes, naka-standard na. So, kaya na i-factor. Sige nga. Pause nyo yung video. Then, check natin. Ito ba yung nakuha mo? Kung ito, walang problema. Magaling ka na. And then, equate each to 0. Tingnan nyo mabuti yung ating factors. Diba? T plus 4 and T plus 4 are just the same. So, actually, pwede kang isang beses mo lang gamitin. So, for example, here, pag nag-transpose ka, you will come up with t equals negative 4. Pwede ka nang hindi mag-solve ng isa pa. Bakit pareho sila? Ibig sabihin, there are two values of x that are equal, and that's negative 4. Okay? So, check tayo. So, dahil para sila ng value, of course, magsasayang ka lang ng oras kung dalawang beses ka ding mag-checking. So, isang beses lang since same naman sila ng values. So, let's have the original equation and substitute t with negative 4. So, you have negative 4 squared plus 8 times negative 4 plus 16 equals 0. So, you now have 16 as negative 4 squared. 8 times negative 4 is negative 32. So, yun. Tapos, 16 plus 16 class, kasi pareho silang positive. So, you have 32 minus 32. So, 0 pa rin yan. Meaning, this negative 4 is the solution to our original equation. Hindi siya extraneous. Okay? Meron pa. Marami pang example para mas gumaling kayo. Okay? So, naka-standard form ba? Look at it closely. Standard form ba? Hindi. Kailangan si 16, itong 16 na to, kailangan nandito siya. So, kailangan yung tumawid dyan. So, what you're going to do is write h squared plus 6x. Tapos, i-follow nyo yung 16 by changing its sign kasi kailangan natin gamitin yung ating magic rule kasi tatawid siya ng equal sign sa magiging h squared plus 6h minus 16 equals 0. Pag naka-standard form na, go on factoring. Sige nga. Ano yung factors na na-found nyo? Eto ba? Okay, kung ito, equate each factor to 0. Okay, ganun lang kadali ang factoring. Ang kailangan lang dito is magaling kang mag-factor. Okay, so h plus 8 equals 0. Transpose 8 to the other side. So I have h is equal to negative 8. Dito naman sa kabila, transpose nyo sa negative 2, you're going to get positive 2. So, yun. Okay na. Let's have more examples. So, we have 11r plus 15 equals negative 2r squared. So, it is very clear that this is not in standard form. So, kailangan muna nating mag-standard form. So, dapat dito is from the standard form na ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, dapat nauna si negative 2r squared. So, kailangan niyang pumunta doon sa kabilang mundo. So, dahil tatawid siya ng equal sign, the negative sign will be changed into positive. So, it will become 2r squared. Okay? Next to this is ax squared plus bx. So, bx yung kasunod, therefore, kailangan natin yung linear term. Dito, nandito lang yung linear term natin. So, madali na lang. So, no more changing of signs kasi nandyan lang siya sa pwesto niya. So, let's just have positive 11r. And then, it must be followed by ax squared plus bx plus c. So, dapat constant. So, ito yung constant natin, si 15. Lagay lang natin plus 15. And then, lagyan natin ng equals 0. So, we now have our standard form. Check natin kung tama ba. 2r squared plus 11r plus 15 equals 0. Yes, tama tayo. Dahil tama tayo, we can now proceed with, erase muna natin, factoring. So, you can do the factoring by pausing the video. Have you find this one? Do you have an answer like this? 2r plus 5, r plus 3? Then, kung ganito yung sagot, then tama na. Tama yung sagot nyo. Okay, so equate each factor to 0. And then afterwards, let's start with the 2r plus 5 on the left side. Transpose natin si 5, magiging negative 5. Divide both by 2. So we have negative 5 over 2. Okay, let's do the same thing sa r plus 3 on the other side. So what we're going to do is to transpose positive 3 to the other side. It will become negative 3. So we now have two values, negative 5 over 2 and negative 3. Ngayon, kung medyo mahaba pa yung oras nyo, hindi naman quiz, you can check this out. You can check using the original equation. Pero kung wala ng oras at siguradong sigurado na, okay na yan. Again, checking has no bearing. It's for your own use para ma-check mo kung tama ba yung sagot na na-solve mo. Marami pa tayong examples. So, paano ba ito i-factor? Naka-standard form na siya. Ma'am, pwede bang gamitin ko na lang yung extracting square roots dyan? Kasi b equals 0. Mas madaling gamitin ang extracting square root pag b is equal to 0. Yes, oo. Pero this is just to show you na pwede ding ma-factor yung ibang mga may mga b equals 0 na equations. Pwede rin siyang i-solve using factoring. Pero yun na nga, mas okay kung nag-extracting square root kasi mas madali yun. Pero anyways, dahil examples natin siya, for the sake of example, gawin na natin. Okay, paano ba ito i-factor? Remember what I told you? The first thing that you need to do is to analyze whether your first term is perfect, your second term is also perfect. So, dahil pareho silang perfect squared, ano ba yung perfect squared? Ano nga ulit yun? You have, if you're going to get the square root of this, then you're going to get the perfect value, a whole number. Okay? So, what you're going to do is to do two sets of never mind the writings kasi magaling ako dito sa writing na to. And then after that, take out the square root of x squared, diba x? So dalawang x dapat nandyan. Dito din, dalawang x. And then sa second term, dahil 25 yan, perfect square of 5. So lagay tayo ng 5 dito. And then 5 din dito. Pagkatapos class, Check natin yung 5. Dahil meron tayong negative na sign in between, di ba ang sabi natin, pag negative yung sign ng last term, sign ng constant, di dapat different sign. So, dito, positive, pwede din negative dyan. And then dito is negative. Unlike signs or different signs. Now, check natin if tama ba yung video. Erase ko lang siya. Tama ba yung factors natin? Hindi yung video. I'm sorry. Okay, so x plus 5 and x minus 5. So, tama na. So, what we're going to do is equate each factor to 0. Tapos, transpose natin. Dito muna tayo magsimula. Transpose natin si negative 5 on the left side, on the right side I mean, so it will become negative 5. Do the same thing here. If we're going to transpose negative 5, then we're going to have x equals 5. So there you go, meron tayong negative 5 and 5. If you're going to use extracting square roots dito, ganun din yung magiging sagot mo. Pero, as I've said, this is just to show you na pwede rin siyang ma-solve kasi nga factorable naman siya. So, pag factorable, okay ang factoring. Okay? There are instances na hindi na-factor yung given. So, wag mong gamitin yung factoring kung hindi siya factorable. It makes no sense. Okay? Bakit mo ifa-factor up? Bakit ka magfa-factor na hindi naman siya factorable? Diba? Use another method. Alright? So, let's continue with this. How well did I understand? So, dito parang problem solving na siya. So, check lang natin kung kaya natin sagutin. Which of the following quadratic equations may be solved appropriately by factoring? Okay? Alright, so dito sa tanong na to, which of the following quadratic equations may be solved more appropriately by factoring? Actually, this question depends on our personal outlook on factoring. Kung magaling tayo sa factoring, then kung magaling tayo i-factor ang isang equation, then siguro we will say yes. Pero pag hindi, of course, we will say no. So dito, we could have different answers kasi, for example, this one here, 2x squared equals 49. Diba wala siyang b or b is equal to 0. So, some might be answering hindi kasi mas madali siya by extracting square roots. Okay? Pero some, pag kaya nilang i-factor to, kaya ba? Okay, so factoring is sagot. Okay, this one is more easily solved by factoring. Madali siyang i-factor, pero again and again, it's up to you. Okay, so this question is opinion-based. Let's have another question. Patricia says that it's more appropriate to use the method of factoring than extracting square roots in solving the equation 4x squared minus 9 equals 0. Do you agree with Patricia? Explain your answer. So this is something, this has some connection with the previous question, diba? Sabi ko, it depends on the person who is solving. So dito, kung akong tatanungin, dahil nga yung equation na to has no b or b is equal to 0, mas madali siya by extracting square root. Okay? Pero dahil siguro si Patricia, magaling siya sa factoring, kaya sabi niya, mas madali itong isolve using factoring. As I've said, it has something to do with the person. Kung magaling ka sa factoring, then you would just say yes. Madali siyang isolve by factoring. Pero either way, parehas mo yung masasolve by factoring and extracting square roots. It just depends on you. Alright? So, opinion-based din siya. Here, show that the equation x minus 4 squared can be solved by both factoring and extracting square roots. Of course naman, kaya siyang i-factored out. Ngayon, dahil medyo mahaba na tong yung video ko, so siguro I'll just leave it to you. So, na-solve na yata natin to by extracting square root. I just don't know. Pero, diba, what you're going to do here is by extracting square roots. Okay? Ito lang yung gagawin. So, from here, nakatranspose na yung 9. So, what you're going to do is to bring down the x minus 4 thing. So, and then, yung 2 dito, wait lang, yung 2 na exponent here is magiging positive and negative square root dun sa kabilang side, diba? So, ang equation ay magiging ganito, x minus 4 equals positive and negative square root of 9. Ngayon, take out the square root of 9. Diba? 3. So, meron tayong positive and negative 3. Tapos, i-transpose natin si negative 4 to the other side, magiging 4 plus and minus 3. Tapos, kaya nung napag-aralan nyo dun sa extracting square roots, what you're going to do is to separate the plus and minus. So, separate na natin. Pag nag-separate tayo, wait lang. Pag nag-separate tayo, that will be 4 plus 3 equals 7. So, may 7 dito. Pag ang isa, that's 4 minus 3, that's positive 1. So, we have 7 and 1 as the correct answer. Okay. Ngayon, we will check if we'll have the same answer kasi sabi daw, kaya siya factoring and extracting square root. Dito naman tayo sa factoring. Okay? Off ko lang to. Dito tayo sa factoring. So, same given. So, how do we solve this using factoring? Of course, you need to expand. Ano yung expand? Expand this one. First, hindi mo siya ma-factor right away kasi nga, ang pinakaunang gagawin pag nag-factoring ka is standard form. Set into standard form. Paano mo yan masa-standard form? Naka-operation pa siya. May operation pa siya. So, kailangan ka, it's either you'll be using the FOIL method or the distributive property. And dapat you would come up with x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 9. Ngayon, hindi pa rin siya standard form kasi sa standard form class, yung dito, yung side dito dapat 0. Diba dapat equals 0. So, itong 9 na to, i-transpose mo siya dun sa kabila. Lipat mo siya sa kabila so that it will be combined with 16. So, ito na yung magiging equation, x squared minus 8x plus 16 minus 9 equals 0. Ngayon, combine mo yung 16 minus 9 para isa na lang yung magiging constant mo. So, the equation would be 16 minus 9 is 7. So, ito na yon. Ngayon, pwede mo na siyang ma-factor out. What are the factors of this? Okay, pause yung video. Hanapin nyo yung factors ng x squared minus 8x plus 7. Did you find x minus 7 and x minus 1? Okay, kung nakuha nyo, then you will have here, bakit ba na-on yung camera? Okay, you will have here 7 and 1 which has the same answer using the extracting square root. So, this is to show you class that pwede siyang ma-solve either extracting square root or factoring. It really depends on the student or the person who is solving it. Okay? Here, a computer manufacturing company would like to come up with a new laptop computer such that its monitor is 80 square inches smaller than the present ones. Suppose the length of the monitor of the larger computer is 5 inches longer than its width, and the area of the smaller computer is 70 square inches. What are the dimensions of the monitor of the larger computer? So, ito ngayon, kasi worded problem na tayo, normally, kailangan nating mag-illustrate. So, kung ito yung old na computer, yung kanyang, how do you call this? Yung kanyang dimensions are given. So, asan dyan yung given, ma'am? San sinabi? Wala namang given. Sabi, the length of the monitor, nandito siya sa sentence na to. The length of the monitor of the larger computer is 5 inches longer than its width. Bakit sinasabing old computer, ma'am? Larger computer yan. Diba yung gagawin nila is to come up with a new laptop that has a monitor of 80 square inches. Wait lang, class, I can't find my pen. Okay, here. So, 80 square inches smaller. So, it's very clear here na yung old computer natin is larger. So, ito yung old computer, larger computer. So, ang given is, yung sinabi ko, coming from this statement from here. So, paano gagawin natin sa given na yan? Mag-start tayo working backwards. So, we have to start with the width. Dahil hindi natin alam kung anong dimension yan, so we can have x equals the width. Since yung sabi is the length is 5 inches longer, so if it's 5 inches longer, then dapat si x na dito, nag-let tayo ng x, dagdagan natin ng 5. Dagdagan dahil longer siya. So we're going to have x plus 5 equals the length. Okay? So dahil may length na tayo, hanap tayo ng area para makuha natin yung new dimensions. Now, di ba yung sabi dito, ang area must be 80 square inches smaller. Smaller. So, ano yung magiging area natin if the smaller computer has an area of 70? So, the smaller computer is 70 square inches dapat. Tapos, 80 smaller siya. So, ang area is 150. Bakit nag-add tayo? Kasi nga, dapat smaller siya. So, dapat yung small, meron pa siyang 80. Okay? So, with this, pwede natin make ang ating equation into, di ba yung area is multiplying length and width. So, we have x, the length times width. So, x times x plus 5 equals to the area, the new area which is 150. Okay, pagkatapos, meron na tayong equation here. So, all you need to do is do some multiplication here. So, you will have x squared plus 5x. Okay, then set this into standard form. You're going to get x squared plus 5x minus 150 equals 0. Ngayon, pwede mo na siyang ma-factor. Factors of 150 na may difference of 5 is 10 and 15. Okay, so ito yung dapat na factors mo. Ngayon, pag nag-solve ka dyan, pag transpose mo ng positive 15 class, it will become negative. Tama? Okay. And dahil nasa dimensions tayo, wala tayong dimensions na negative. Tandaan nyo yan. Pag dimensions ang hinahanap mo sa word problem, walang dimensions na negative. So, ang ibig sabihin nun, that negative 15 as the value will be discarded. Hindi siya kasali sa values of x. So, ang ibig sabihin, yung x lang natin is, ito lang yung gagamitin natin. So, pag transpose mo, x is equal to 10, which is the width of our larger computer. Ngayon, meron tayong x plus 5 as the length. So, dagdagan natin ng 5, kasali pa rin yung 15. Pero, of course, hindi natin siya isinali dito dahil magva-violate tayo dun sa idea ng dimensions na dapat walang negative. Okay? So, the dimensions of the computer are 10 as the width and 15 as the length. Alright? I hope kung hindi naintindihan, you can go and replay this part of the video. Okay? Now, so ito na yun. Diba? At the end of our video, every video, you're going to have an activity to perform. Now, we have this one here. So, off lang natin yung camera para makita niyo yung kailangan yung sagutan. So, answer the following. Okay, so just like what you did, in your solution notebook, do this. Take a picture, take a selfie, and there you go. You now have your activity number 3, synchronous activity. This is actually activity 2 of your drive, uploaded in your drive, and tapos na kayo sa asynchronous learning na to. Okay, so I guess that will be all for today, class. Bye-bye, everyone.